Hidden deep in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia lies a prison built for one purpose: to break the most dangerous and violent inmates in America. Known for its isolation, its solitary confinement cells, and its reputation for brutality, Red Onion State Penitentiary is one of the most feared prisons in the United States. But what really happens behind those steel doors? Today, we take you inside Red Onion. To understand Red Onion State Penitentiary, you have to start with where and why it was built. Located in Wise County, Virginia, Red Onion opened in 1998 during the peak of America's tough-on-crime era. At the time, prisons across the country were overcrowded, prison violence was skyrocketing, and states were scrambling to find ways to contain inmates considered uncontrollable. Virginia officials decided the solution was to build a supermax prison, designed to isolate, restrain, and control the most violent prisoners through near-total solitary confinement. Red Onion was constructed high in the Appalachian Mountains, in one of the most remote corners of the state. Its location was no accident. Officials wanted a place that was isolated not just for security, but also as a form of psychological control. The prison's name came from the small local community of Red Onion, known for its farmland and mining routes. But after the prison opened, the name would take on a darker meaning, one associated with fear, control, and punishment. The design of Red Onion was deliberate and severe. With the capacity to house about 800 inmates, nearly all in solitary confinement, the prison was built to minimize human interaction. Cells measured about 8 by 10 feet, bare concrete rooms with a bed, a sink, and a steel toilet. Each cell had a narrow window, but like ADX Florence, it offered almost no view of the outside world. Inmates spent 23 hours a day locked inside these cells. Their only recreation was 1 hour in a small outdoor cage, often alone. Prison officials described Red Onion as a clean version of hell. It was meant to be the end of the line, a place where inmates who couldn't be controlled anywhere else would be sent. Virginia's Department of Corrections marketed it as a state-of-the-art solution to prison violence. But human rights advocates quickly saw it differently. Almost immediately after its opening, Red Onion gained a reputation for brutality and abuse. Inmates reported frequent beatings by guards, excessive use of restraints, and psychological torture through prolonged isolation. A 1999 report by Human Rights Watch raised alarms, documenting how solitary confinement at Red Onion was used not just for violent inmates, but also for minor disciplinary infractions. Life inside Red Onion was not just about punishment, it was about control. Inmates described days that blurred into each other with little to no human contact. Meals were delivered through slots in cell doors. Communication with other inmates was limited to shouting through vents or steel doors. Guards monitored everything through cameras and heavily fortified observation points. The philosophy behind Red Onion was simple. Take away all forms of social interaction, and inmates would either calm down or break down. But the question quickly arose, was this justice, or was it torture? By the early 2000s, Red Onion was already making national headlines. Former inmates, lawyers, and civil rights groups argued that the conditions amounted to cruel and unusual punishment. The prison became a lightning rod in the debate over solitary confinement in America. Despite the criticism, officials defended Red Onion. They claimed it was necessary to contain gang leaders, violent offenders, and inmates who had attacked guards or other prisoners in lower security facilities. To them, Red Onion wasn't cruelty, it was order. But for the men inside, Red Onion was something else entirely, a place where time stopped. Inmates described the silence as deafening, the isolation as maddening. Many developed severe mental health issues, paranoia, hallucinations, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Advocates argued that this wasn't rehabilitation. It was destruction of the human mind. Red Onion's creation marked a turning point in American corrections. It symbolized the rise of supermax prisons, designed not to rehabilitate, but to isolate. In the chapters ahead, we'll go deeper. into the daily routines that define life inside Red Onion, the violent incidents that earned it its reputation, and the voices of those who lived through what many call a nightmare in the mountains. Life in solitary, a day at Red Onion. Life inside Red Onion, State Penitentiary, is defined by one thing: isolation. For the majority of inmates here, each day is almost identical to the last. It begins with the metallic clang of doors opening at dawn, followed by the sound of heavy boots on concrete as correctional officers make their rounds. Meals, plastic trays filled with lukewarm food, are slid through a narrow slot in the steel door. Interaction between officer and inmate is reduced to a few words, if any at all. The cell itself is the center of existence. Each one measures roughly 8 by 10 feet, made of cold concrete, with a steel toilet and sink combination bolted to the wall. The bed is a metal frame with a thin mattress, no more than a few inches thick. A narrow slit window provides light but little perspective. Most inmates can only see the sky or a fragment of the prison yard. Inmates here spend 23 hours a day inside this space. They eat in their cell. They sleep in their cell. They read, write, exercise, or pace back and forth, all inside their cell. Conversations are limited to shouting through the cracks in steel, doors, or muffled exchanges through ventilation shafts. Some describe the silence as oppressive, others describe the constant mechanical hum of the prison as maddening. For 1 hour a day, if granted, inmates are allowed recreation. But even this is isolation. The recreation yard is not a field or open space. It's a small outdoor cage, often no larger than a dog kennel. Surrounded by high walls and wire mesh, inmates can pace, do push-ups, or simply stand and breathe fresh air. But they are alone. Human contact is stripped away, even here. Guards operate Red Onion with strict security protocols. Inmates leaving their cells are shackled, wrists cuffed and chained to their waist, with ankles locked in leg irons. 2 or more officers escort every movement, ensuring there's no opportunity for resistance. Showers, which happen a few times a week, are taken in small stalls under heavy surveillance. The philosophy behind this system is control. Officials argue that these restrictions are necessary for inmates who are violent, disruptive, or gang-affiliated. But for those living it, the reality feels more like punishment without end. Many inmates serving time at Red Onion weren't convicted of new crimes inside prison. They were transferred there for breaking rules at other facilities, joining fights, or being suspected of gang ties. Over time, the isolation takes a heavy toll. Psychologists describe what happens as S2 syndrome, named after special housing units where solitary confinement is enforced. Inmates report depression, paranoia, panic attacks, hallucinations, and suicidal thoughts. Some begin hearing voices. Others lose track of time, forgetting what day, month, or even year it is. In 2012, the American Civil Liberties Union released a report on Red Onion, documenting widespread use of solitary confinement, racial disparities in punishment, and the devastating effects on mental health. One prisoner described his daily life this way: "I spend 23 hours a day staring at the same 4 walls. The only thing that changes is the tray of food they slide through the door. After a while, you start to wonder if you're still human." Even guards have acknowledged the toll. Former officers admitted that the prison's design makes interaction minimal and distrust constant. Some officers saw inmates as dangerous enemies, while others quietly worried about the long-term effects of such extreme isolation. Daily routines are enforced with military precision. Wake up, eat, lock in, rec time, lock in again. Medical visits are conducted through steel doors, with nurses sliding blood pressure cuffs and medication through slots. Legal visits or family visits take place behind thick glass, through phones, eliminating physical contact. Birthdays, holidays, and personal milestones pass unmarked, blending into the endless monotony of prison life. But even under such tight control, violence hasn't disappeared. Despite the solitary model, stabbings and assaults still occur, sometimes against guards, sometimes between inmates during rare interactions. Red Onion has been investigated multiple times for excessive use of force by staff. Inmates report being beaten while restrained, pepper-sprayed for refusing orders, or denied basic privileges. In the eyes of critics, Red Onion represents not rehabilitation, but psychological warfare, a system designed to control bodies and break minds. Supporters argue that it's necessary, that without such extreme measures, inmates who are violent gang leaders or repeat attackers would pose constant threats. But the line between safety and cruelty remains thin. Inside those 8x10 cells, time stretches endlessly. For many, the punishment is not just the years on their sentence, but the crushing weight of isolation itself. And that's why Red Onion has become a case study in the debate over solitar, reconfinement in America, a debate that asks whether control has crossed into cruelty. Red Onion State Penitentiary was built to control the uncontrollable, to lock away those deemed too dangerous for ordinary prisons. But inside its concrete walls and solitary cages, another story unfolds. A story not of rehabilitation, but of survival, silence, and psychological decay. For some, Red Onion is justice served. For others, it is a human rights violation hidden in the mountains of Virginia. One thing is certain. Behind every steel door lies a man fighting a battle with time, isolation, and his own mind. And the question that lingers is this: does breaking a man's spirit make us safer or simply more brutal?